So when you go to metrics, basically, if you try to, I'll show you, if you try to create like a session metric, session totals, and you say sessions that include checkout, well, you can't, there's no way to add another session in there. So you could count session totals here, and then you can count them somewhere in another metric, but you can't do math that way. But what you can do, and I've built this, so I will just, what you can do is you can just use a formula metric. You can group by session ID, place order, group by session ID, checkout, group by session ID, and then prop count counts the unique values. Now, is this 100% unique? Is it possible for user A and user B to have the same session ID? Yes, session ID is defined by default as the epoch timestamp of the first event in the session. If you really want to be super, super accurate, you could create a derived property that concatenates amplitude ID with session ID, and then you'll never have any duplicates. But to simplify things here, so you group it by, let's say, the unique value for sessions, and then you're dividing place order by checkout. Place order has more, place order is the smaller, lower volume event. Checkout is the, I guess, the final conversion event in this demo. But that will allow you to get to a value. Now, the consideration you have to have here, though, is that there's no guarantee the same users that clicked whatever event A was went on to do event B. This could be a group that did A includes, or the group that did B may have some people who did A, but not all. It's not outside of a conversion funnel or a conversion metric. You don't have a guarantee of continuity in the population that performed these events. So in aggregate, if you just want to see how many of the overall counts that did A, how many did B, yeah, you can create that in a metric. You can do the same formula in a chart, but it's not going to be linked. There's no guarantee it's the same group that did A and B. Does that make sense?
It does, but the order is important for us.
If the order is important, you can do here. Well, if the order is important, then we do a conversion metric, and we say this isn't going to be sessions, right? But we can say people who did, we'll just say add to cart, and then people who did checkout. We're doing it in this order, meaning they could have events in between, but they couldn't do checkout before add to cart. And if we want, we can hold session ID constant, meaning I only care about people who did this within the same session, and then we can see the relationship directly here. And the nice thing about the metric is you can include it in a data table. Obviously, you can do all of this and more in a funnel chart. But if you want to have a metric in a data table, this will get you there. You can also, if you have a revenue value, if you had a revenue value, you can add. There's a feature to sum the value at that final event to get, if you want to get total revenue. I often will create a derived property that just returns a count of 1. And I use that as a user count, so you can count the number of users, so that you could have conversion, total count of users, as well as total revenue associated with things, all in a data table together. But the conversion metric will sort of lock things down. Now, it does not give you that count. It's not based on session count. So depending on what it is it likely that someone went through 2 or more cycles of adding to cart and completing checkout in a single session? Probably pretty rare, maybe, but depending on what you want to measure, you might be getting the event conversion as opposed to the session conversion.